My sister faked cancer to sabotage. My Ivy League dreams, the beginning of a toxic rivalry. My sister faked cancer to sabotage my Ivy League dreams, so I exposed her lies and watched her life collapse. 2 years later, she's at my door crying, asking if we can ever be sisters again. My sister was ready to destroy anything and everything to one-up me, including herself. Growing up, I always tried to be best friends with my older sister, Sasha. I bought all my clothes based on what her wardrobe looked like, and whenever she started a hobby, I would start it too. But instead of wanting to be my best friend, she started seeing me as her #1 opponent. Whenever she'd come home after winning an award in running, dance, or any other hobby of hers I copied, I was the first one she told, "Bet you couldn't do this, could you?" She'd then wave the award in my face. But instead of crying or getting jealous, I'd hug her super tight and tell her how happy I was for her. This just made her even angrier, and she'd shove me away sometimes so hard that my entire body would fall onto the floor. The breaking point, my 12th birthday. It wasn't until my 12th birthday that I finally gave up trying because our parents got me a pink glittery bike, one that Sasha always wanted. As soon as I unboxed it, I ran up to her room and banged on her door. When I brought her into the back garden and showed her what I got, I asked if she wanted to be the first one to ride it. "Sure," she said with a smirk plastered on her face. She told me she wanted to ride it on the road, and since she was 16, I figured she was old enough to ride responsibly. But instead of sitting in the seat, she locked eyes with me and threw it into the open road right as a truck passed by and destroyed it. My heart broke, and that was the moment my childhood ended. I vowed to never tell her about my achievements or any updates on my life for that matter. The awards ceremony, sabotage. Unfortunately, when I was 14, I won first place at the regional cross-country championships. Because Sasha hadn't moved out for college yet, she heard my parents talking about it. But to my surprise, instead of flipping out, she asked to come to my awards ceremony. I enthusiastically said yes, because I thought she was trying to rebuild our friendship. On the big day, the coach announced the winners in order of lowest to highest, except he never called out my name. Right before he could, Sasha dramatically collapsed onto the floor. Everyone turned around to face my family and ask if she was okay. She didn't wake back up until you could hear the ambulance sirens outside. "Oh, sorry everyone," she announced, jolting straight up. "I just didn't eat enough food today." Everyone marveled about how glad they were to see she was okay. I just rolled my eyes. Years of secrecy. From there, I kept pretty much everything in my life a secret from not just my sister and parents, but my entire family. It definitely made life lonelier, and it took a lot to kill the desire of running to my parents when I got good news. Fast forward to when I was 17 and got accepted into an Ivy League university. My parents found the acceptance letter before me. When I got home, my mom yelled, "Honey, we are so proud of you." Without missing a beat, they started taking a bunch of pictures of me with my acceptance letter to plaster all over their social media. For the first time in years, I let them be happy for me because I figured that Sasha couldn't do anything to ruin it. But again, I was wrong. "She'll need one room for her stuff and one to sleep in." My mom's voice was shaking, and my dad had tears in his eyes. I instantly knew she was faking it. I just needed some sort of evidence. Sasha came home later that day with a smirk on her face. Her hair was completely bald, which is funny because I had seen a photo on her story with her hair blowing in the wind just a month back. Still, she lied down and slept, said the cancer was tiring her out. That night, I cooked her favorite meal, luring her into delusional security. Building my case. After 2 weeks of me sleeping on the couch, Sasha hosted a party to commemorate her own bravery. She invited everyone we knew, including some girls from my class. Perfect. Halfway through, I tapped on my Fanta glass with a fork. "Sasha, make a speech. We're so proud of you." She immediately recited a speech that I had heard her practice dozens of times in the bathroom mirror. She was halfway through her fake tears when I walked up to her and hugged her. Just as I was about to pull away, I peeled off the bald cap. Her blonde hair unraveled down to her waist. My mom gasped so hard I thought her lungs were about to shrivel up. While everyone processed what was going on, I turned on the TV on full volume. There I broadcasted a clip I had captured of Sasha practicing her speech in the mirror when she thought no one was looking. Instead of finally facing up to her lies, she stormed out of the house and drove away. I went upstairs to my room and let my parents deal with saying goodbye to all the guests. The aftermath and escalation. The next morning, I woke up to my mom slapping me across the face. How could you have embarrassed Sasha like that while she's battling with cancer? My mom said Sasha told them I'd ripped out her hair extensions, that she'd spent thousands on realistic ones because she didn't want people to pity her for being bald. She didn't want to flaunt her wealth by admitting she could afford such expensive extensions. I couldn't believe my parents bought that story, but they did. Over the next few days, things got worse. Sasha came back with a stack of medical documents, appointment cards, test results, and even a treatment schedule. I don't know how she faked them, but they looked real enough to convince my parents. The letterhead looked authentic and everything. Then she started telling them I was emotionally abusive, that I'd been bullying her about the cancer diagnosis. She said I was jealous of the attention she was getting and trying to make everything about my college acceptance, forced therapy, and sabotage. My parents scheduled an emergency therapy appointment for me. They told the therapist I was showing signs of narcissistic personality disorder and needed immediate help. The therapist seemed skeptical at first, but my parents were so convinced that she agreed to see me twice a week. Those sessions were brutal. I had to sit there while this woman asked me why I felt the need to hurt my sick sister. She wanted to explore my jealousy issues and my need for attention. I tried explaining that Sasha was lying, but that just made me look worse. Meanwhile, Sasha took over the house. She'd host these little gatherings where extended family would come visit the brave cancer patient. She'd make these subtle comments about how hard it was, having an unsupportive sister, nothing obvious enough to call out, but enough to poison everyone against me. Documenting the truth. Every time she slipped up or contradicted herself, I wrote it down. When she claimed to have chemo on Tuesday but posted selfies at the mall, I screenshotted everything. I was building a case, but I needed something concrete. One night I came home late from school. I'd been working on a big project in the library when I opened my laptop. The screen was cracked and it wouldn't turn on. All my schoolwork was gone. Years of essays and projects just destroyed. The keyboard was bent like someone had stepped on it. I found Sasha in the kitchen making tea. She smiled at me and said technology could be so unreliable. Then she asked if I'd backed up my college application materials. The way she said it made it clear she knew exactly what happened to my laptop. The college threat. Then came the letter from my dream college. They'd received an anonymous tip about concerning behavior and wanted to discuss my acceptance. Someone had reported that I was bullying a family member with terminal illness. They needed to investigate before finalizing my enrollment. I knew it was Sasha, but I couldn't prove it. She'd been so careful to stay anonymous. But she made one mistake. She used specific phrases in the complaint that she'd used before. I recognized her writing style immediately. Gathering evidence, I decided to get creative with my evidence gathering. I bought tiny voice recorders and hid them around the house. I wanted to catch her admitting something when she thought no one was listening. I placed them behind picture frames, under tables, anywhere she might let her guard down. The recordings picked up more than I expected. Late at night, I'd hear Sasha on the phone laughing about how gullible our parents were. Her voice carried through the thin walls between our rooms, dripping with contempt as she described their worried faces. She bragged to her friends about getting my room and ruining my college plans, punctuating each revelation with cruel giggles. I saved every single file to multiple cloud accounts, creating backup after backup with shaking hands. Each recording was labeled with the date and time, organized in folders that documented weeks of deception. Aunt Helen's help. I needed someone who'd actually listen. My parents were too deep in denial. That's when I remembered Aunt Helen. She'd always been skeptical of Sasha, even when we were kids, catching her in small lies at family gatherings. I called her from a payphone at school. Helen lived 2 hours away, but maybe she'd help. I told her everything as fast as I could, words tumbling over each other. She stayed quiet for a long time, then said she'd suspected something was off when Sasha's cancer story kept changing. First it was lymphoma, then leukemia, then some rare form that kept shifting names. Helen agreed to come visit that weekend. She said she'd pretend it was just to support Sasha, but really she wanted to see the evidence I'd collected. The discovery and confrontation that Friday, I got home to find my recordings were gone. Every single device had vanished from their hiding spots. Sasha was sitting on the couch reading a magazine like nothing happened. When I asked about them, she said she didn't know what I was talking about, not even glancing up from her reading. I still had the cloud backups, but now I was paranoid. That night, I changed all my passwords and set up two-factor authentication on everything. Helen arrived Saturday morning with a casserole and a concerned expression. She hugged Sasha and told her how brave she was. Sasha ate it up, going on about her treatment and how hard everything was. Later, Helen asked to see my room to help me reorganize since I'd given it up for Sasha. Once we were alone, I showed her everything on my phone. The recordings, the screenshots, the timeline of lies I'd meticulously documented. Her face got darker with each piece of evidence. The dinner revelation. Sasha gave vague answers about privacy and not wanting to burden everyone with details. Helen pushed a little more, mentioning she had a friend who was an oncologist who might help. When Helen asked for the oncologist's name to send a thank you card, Sasha suddenly needed to use the bathroom. While she was gone, Helen looked at my parents. She asked if they'd actually gone to any appointments with Sasha. My mom admitted they hadn't, because Sasha said she needed to be independent. Helen pulled out her phone and showed them my evidence. At first, they didn't want to look, but Helen insisted, going through each recording and screenshot methodically. My mom's face went white when she heard Sasha laughing about fooling them. Dad's expression shifted from disbelief to horror to rage. The truth comes out. Sasha came back to find us all staring at her. She immediately started crying about how we were ganging up on a cancer patient. When that didn't work, she accused me of faking the recordings with AI. Then she said I'd drugged her to make her say those things. My dad stood up slowly and asked her point blank if she had cancer. Finally, she exploded. She screamed that we all loved my achievements more than her, that I'd stolen her parents' attention with my stupid college acceptance. The truth came pouring out in a torrent. She admitted faking everything, but said it was our fault for making her feel invisible. She'd spent years being the older sister, but I got all the praise for copying her. She said destroying my bike was the only time she felt powerful. She even admitted to smaller things I'd never suspected, hiding my library books so I'd get fines, telling kids at school embarrassing lies about me, deleting my essays from the family computer. The violent outburst Sasha wasn't done, though. She lunged at me, screaming that I'd ruined everything. Her nails caught my mom's arm when she tried to get between us. Blood ran down Mom's wrist, and that finally snapped everyone out of their shock. Dad grabbed Sasha and pulled her back. She was thrashing and screaming about how much she hated me, how I'd stolen her life by being born, how every achievement I had was just to make her look bad. Helen called 911 while Dad held Sasha. The paramedics came for my mom's arm but ended up taking Sasha too. She'd worked herself into such a state they were worried she might hurt herself. Recovery and rebuilding. That night, my parents sat me down to apologize. They said they'd been so shocked by the cancer story they never questioned it. They'd wanted to support their sick daughter and ended up enabling her lies. I told them about all the things Sasha had done over the years, not to hurt them, but so they'd understand this wasn't new. They were horrified to learn about the birthday bike and the awards ceremony. We agreed Sasha needed professional help, real therapy, not the kind they'd forced on me. Dad called around and found a place that specialized in personality disorders. Meanwhile, I had to fix my life. The college was still investigating the anonymous complaint. I sent them the recording of Sasha's confession along with a letter from Helen explaining the situation. The admissions officer called personally to apologize for the confusion. The long road to healing school was harder to fix. Rumors don't die easily, especially in a small high school where gossip is currency. Some people believed me when I explained, but others thought I was making excuses. I focused on my real friends and ignored the whispers in the hallway. Sasha came home after 3 days of observation. She was required to attend therapy twice a week. The therapist said she showed signs of narcissistic personality disorder with antisocial features. It would take years of work to address. She moved back into her old room without apology. We avoided each other completely. When we passed in the hall, she'd look through me like I wasn't there. I was fine with that. I'd given up on having a sister years ago. Continued struggles and small victories. But she wasn't done trying to hurt me. I caught her in my room one day going through my college paperwork. When I confronted her, she said she was just borrowing a pen, but I noticed my acceptance letter was crumpled like she'd been squeezing it. I installed a lock on my door that night. My parents didn't object, understanding the necessity. The next few months were tense. Sasha would have good days where she seemed almost normal, then setbacks where the anger came back. Her therapist warned us recovery wasn't linear. College finally confirmed they were keeping my acceptance. The admissions board said they understood the situation and appreciated my honesty. They even offered resources for dealing with family trauma. Prom and more, sabotage. Prom season arrived, and I let myself get excited. I'd found a beautiful dress on sale, and my friend Aaron asked me to go as friends. The night of prom, I was doing my makeup when I heard a crash. My dress was on the floor, covered in what looked like bleach. The fabric was ruined, huge white splotches all over the blue material. Sasha's bathroom door clicked shut down the hall. I called Helen, who drove over with her daughter's old prom dress. It was green instead of blue, but it fit perfectly. Helen did my hair while I tried not to cry. At prom, nobody cared that my dress was different than planned. Aaron and I danced until our feet hurt. For a few hours, I forgot about Sasha and the chaos at home. When I got home, Sasha was in the living room. She looked at the green dress, and her face fell. I realized she'd been waiting to see me cry about the ruined dress. When I smiled and said I had an amazing night, she stormed off to her room. She said Sasha had admitted to the dress incident and several other acts of sabotage. The therapist recommended a more intensive program, maybe residential treatment, where Sasha could focus on healing without triggers. My parents were torn. They wanted to help Sasha but worried about sending her away. The therapist explained that sometimes distance was necessary for everyone to heal. Sasha announced she'd go to treatment. She said she was tired of being angry all the time. For the first time in years, she looked genuinely exhausted instead of plotting something. We drove her to the facility the following Monday. It was 3 hours away, surrounded by mountains and gardens. The staff seemed kind but firm. They explained the program would last at least 6 months, with family therapy sessions once a month. Life without Sasha. The house was peaceful without her. I moved back into my room properly, spreading out my things without fear. My parents and I had quiet dinners where we actually talked. Mom started asking about my day again, genuinely interested in my answers. I threw myself into senior year activities. I joined the yearbook committee and started tutoring underclassmen in math. My college acceptance was secure, and I could finally enjoy high school. The first family therapy session was rough. Sasha had to acknowledge the harm she'd caused. She read from a list, monotone, and clearly unhappy about it, but the therapist said admitting wrongdoing was the first step. We went once a month as required. Sometimes Sasha participated, and sometimes she just glared. The therapist worked with all of us on boundaries and communication. Senior year and graduation. I got into National Honor Society and won a scholarship for my essay about overcoming family challenges. My parents came to every ceremony beaming with pride. Sasha slowly improved in treatment. Her letters home became less angry and more reflective. She started taking responsibility without blaming others. The therapist said she was making real progress, but warned us not to expect miracles. Graduation day arrived faster than expected. During the ceremony, I spotted my parents in the third row. When they called my name for the scholarship award, Dad whooped so loud everyone turned to look. After getting my diploma, I found them in the crowd. Group hug turned into more crying from Mom. Helen handed me a card with a check inside for college expenses. Halfway through our celebration lunch, Mom's phone rang. It was the treatment facility. Sasha wanted to talk to me. I hadn't heard her voice in 2 months. She said, "Congratulations on graduating." Her voice sounded different, calmer, less sharp around the edges. College and continued healing summer passed in a blur of preparation. The treatment facility called about a special family session before I left for school. They said Sasha had something important to share. In the session room, Sasha looked healthier. She'd gained weight and her skin had color again. She read from a paper, hands shaking slightly. It was an apology, a real one. She went through specific incidents and acknowledged how they hurt me. She said she'd been diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder and borderline traits. That wasn't an excuse, but an explanation. She was learning to manage her emotions without hurting others. When she finished, we all sat in silence for a moment. I didn't forgive her, not yet, but I thanked her for the apology and said I hope treatment kept helping. That was all I could give right then. Building something new. 2 weeks before college, I was packing when I found something strange, a small wrapped box in my desk drawer. Inside was a necklace with my birthstone. The receipt showed Sasha had ordered it from the treatment facility's craft program. A tiny note said, "For your new beginning." Maybe someday I would, maybe not, but the gesture meant something. College was everything I'd hoped for. Hard classes, but interesting ones. Late-night study sessions fueled by pizza. My roommate became a close friend. I joined the running club and made more friends. No one knew about my family drama, and that felt like freedom. Gradual reconciliation. I came home for Thanksgiving break. The house felt different, calmer. My parents had redecorated some rooms and started hosting game nights with friends. They looked happier, lighter. Sasha was allowed a supervised home visit for Thanksgiving dinner. She looked nervous walking through the door. We all sat at the table like strangers, pretending to be family, but gradually conversations started. She asked about my classes and seemed genuinely interested in my biology major. No competitive comments or put-downs. After dinner, she helped clear plates without being asked. When Mom brought out pie, Sasha asked if she could say something. She thanked us for not giving up on her, said she knew she'd put us through hell, that she was committed to being better even though it was hard work. I didn't hug her goodbye, but I did wave from the porch. Small steps, the therapist had said. Continued progress. Winter break brought more changes. Sasha completed the first phase of treatment and moved to a transitional housing program. She got a part-time job at a bookstore, started taking community college classes online. We had another family session where the therapist talked about reintegration. Sasha wouldn't move home right away, maybe not ever, but she could visit more often, have dinner once a week, attend family events with notice. Spring semester flew by. I made Dean's List and got invited to join the honors program. My parents framed the letter. Helen sent congratulations, flowers. Even Sasha texted, saying she was proud. I came home for spring break to find Sasha had visited several times. My parents said dinners were going well. She was taking accountability in therapy and working on emotional regulation. We had dinner together that Wednesday. Sasha asked about my summer plans, and I told her about my research internship. She said that sounded impressive and asked questions about the project. Real questions, not looking for weaknesses to exploit. We sat on the back porch like we used to as kids. She said she knew she'd stolen years from me, that she couldn't give them back, but wanted to do better going forward. I told her I appreciated that, but trust would take time, maybe forever. She said she understood. Before sophomore year started, we had a final family session. The therapist said Sasha had made remarkable progress, but would need ongoing support. She'd learned to recognize her triggers and manage reactions. The personality disorder would always be there, but she could control how it affected others. Moving forward sophomore year brought new challenges and opportunities. I declared my major officially and started research with a professor. My parents called weekly with updates. Sasha was taking more classes and doing well. She'd made some friends in her therapy group, baby steps toward a normal life. When I came home for winter break, Sasha had her own apartment, a studio near the bookstore. She invited us over for dinner and actually cooked. The pasta was overcooked, but no one complained. She showed us her space with obvious pride. Everything neat and organized, a fresh start made visible. We exchanged Christmas presents awkwardly. She got me a gift card to my favorite store, Safe and Practical. I got her a journal for therapy work, also safe, but we were trying. That counted for something. The rest of break passed peacefully. Sasha came to my high school friend's party and behaved normally. She even laughed at Aaron's terrible jokes. Building trust, I helped her move some furniture one afternoon, just the two of us in her apartment. She put on music and we worked without much talking. When we finished, she made tea and we sat on her new couch. She said she was grateful I was giving her a chance, that she knew she didn't deserve it but appreciated it anyway. I told her about my college friends and classes. She listened without interrupting or comparing. When I mentioned struggling with organic chemistry, she offered to help. Turns out she'd taken it at community college and done well. We spent an hour going over my notes. She was patient and explained things clearly. That night I told my parents about the tutoring. They exchanged surprised looks. Mom said that was wonderful. Dad reminded me to maintain boundaries. I said I knew, but maybe boundaries could shift slowly, include more space for connection if everyone stayed healthy. Academic success and support. Spring semester started with new energy. Sasha and I texted about chemistry homework. She sent helpful videos and practice problems. My grade improved from a C to a B+. I thanked her, and she said helping me felt good, like she was contributing something positive for once. We developed a routine weekly text about school, monthly video calls to review difficult concepts. She never pushed for more contact than I offered. When I didn't respond for a few days, she didn't guilt trip, just waited until I was ready. The respect for boundaries felt significant. By the time sophomore year ended, our relationship had found steady ground. Not close, but functional. We could share space without tension, have conversations without hidden agendas. She came to my academic awards ceremony and clapped genuinely. No scene or drama, just support. Study abroad and growth. That summer, I studied abroad in Spain. Sasha helped me pack and gave advice about traveling. She'd done a semester abroad before everything fell apart. Her tips about homestays and culture shock proved helpful. We hugged goodbye at the airport. Brief, but real. I sent postcards home to everyone, including Sasha. She saved them in a box, she told me later. When I got back, she wanted to hear stories, see photos. She asked questions about the research I'd done there, remembered details from previous conversations, acting like a normal sister for once. Graduate school and genuine support junior year arrived with graduate school applications looming. Sasha offered to proofread my personal statements. I hesitated but agreed. She gave thoughtful feedback without trying to sabotage anything, even caught some typos I'd missed. When I got interviews, she helped me practice constructive and supportive. The years of therapy had changed her, not into a perfect person, but someone who could function without destroying others. She still struggled with jealousy sometimes. I'd see flashes of the old Sasha when I shared good news, but she'd catch herself and apologize. Real work on real change. When acceptance letters started arriving, she was genuinely excited for me. No fake cancer diagnosis or mysterious illnesses, just congratulations and questions about which program I'd choose. She even offered to help me move when the time came. I said we'd see, but appreciated the offer. Graduation and new beginning senior year flew by in preparation for the future. Sasha came to graduation without making it about her, sat with my parents and cheered at appropriate times, took photos when asked, gave me a card with a heartfelt message about being proud of my accomplishments. I actually believe she meant it. That summer, we spent more time together than we had in years. She helped me apartment hunt in my new city, drove me to IKEA for furniture, assembled bookcases without complaining. We even laughed at some points, not forced or careful laughter, just natural reactions to funny moments. The night before I moved, she asked if we could be real sisters someday. Not now, but eventually, when enough time had passed and trust was rebuilt. I said maybe, that I wanted to believe it was possible, but couldn't promise anything. She said that was fair, more than she deserved, really. When everything was packed, she handed me a small gift, a framed photo of us as kids, before everything went wrong, both of us grinning at the camera, sisters who didn't know what was coming. I hung it in my new apartment, not prominently, but visible, a reminder that people could change, that families could heal even after deep wounds, that forgiveness was possible even if it took years to arrive. The photo faced my desk where I'd see it while studying, two little girls who deserved better than they got. Present-day Sasha and I text regularly now, not daily, but consistently. She tells me about her job and classes. I share stories from graduate school. We're building something new on the ashes of what was destroyed. It's fragile and imperfect, but it's ours. Maybe that's enough for now. Looking back, I can see how far we've all come from that horrible party where I pulled off her bald cap to now. Years of therapy and work and pain, but also growth. My parents learning to see clearly. Sasha learning to live without destroying. Me learning to protect myself while staying open to possibility. We're not the family we could have been, but we're the family we chose to become. Scarred but healing, careful but hopeful, taking it one day at a time. Because that's all anyone can do, and for now, that's enough.